Commander Kate Bishop stood at the bridge window and watched humanity die. The holographic display in front of her glowed with red markers. Each one represented a Krell warship. There were too many to count. Behind those red markers, her own fleet showed in blue. There were not enough. There had never been enough. The war had lasted 30 years. Kate had given 20 of those years to the fight. She had been young when it started, fresh from the academy with dreams of exploration and discovery. The universe had other plans. The Krell Dominion came from beyond the outer rim with ships that could shatter planets and weapons that turned human vessels into floating debris. At first, humanity thought they could negotiate. The Krell did not want to talk. They wanted resources, territory, and dominance. When the first colonies fell, Earth sent its fleets. When those fleets were destroyed, Earth built more. For 3 decades, humans had fought, adapted, and survived through sheer stubborn refusal to surrender. But stubbornness was not enough anymore. Kate watched the red markers move closer to the blue dot at the center of her display. Earth, home. 3 billion people who had no idea they had less than 3 hours to live. Lieutenant Marcus Webb approached her station. His young face looked older than it should. The war did that to people. It aged them in ways that had nothing to do with years. He had lost his entire squadron last week. Good pilots, every one of them. Their names would go on the memorial wall with thousands of others. "Commander, the Council is calling again," Marcus said quietly. "They want to know our options." Kate almost laughed. Options. What options did you give to people about to be wiped from existence? She had run every simulation, tried every strategy. The Krell had 200 warships. Kate had 43. The math was simple and brutal. "Tell them we will hold as long as possible," Kate said. It was the truth, even if it meant nothing. Her ships would last maybe 20 minutes once the Krell reached Earth orbit. The planet's defense stations might add another 10. 30 minutes between humanity and extinction. Marcus hesitated. He wanted to say something encouraging, something hopeful. But they were past that now. Instead, he just nodded and walked back to his station. Around the bridge, her crew worked in silence. They knew. Everyone knew. Kate turned away from the display and closed her eyes. She thought about her childhood in California, swimming in the ocean, feeling the sun on her face. Simple things, human things. Would anyone remember those things after today? Would the Krell care that humanity had created art, music, poetry, that they had loved and laughed and dreamed? The communication panel beeped. Kate opened her eyes and saw a priority message from Earth Command, classified eyes only. She felt a flicker of something, not quite hope, but close enough. She opened the message. Authorization granted. Project Prometheus. Proceed immediately. Kate stared at the words. Project Prometheus. She had heard whispers about it years ago. Every military had secret projects, experimental weapons, desperate contingencies. But Prometheus had been shut down, had not it? The rumors said it had failed. That people had died, that it had been too dangerous even by wartime standards. Another message came through. A name. Dr. Adrian Cole. Location. Medical Bay, Level 12. Kate had never heard of a medical bay on Level 12. Her ship, the EDS Valiant, only had 10 levels. Or so she had thought. She made her way down through the ship. Crew members stopped what they were doing to watch her pass. They saw something in her face. Maybe the slightest change in expression. Maybe hope. Maybe fear. Kate was not sure which she felt. Level 12 was not on any official schematic. Kate had to use her command codes to access the elevator that went down past the regular decks. The doors opened to a corridor that looked different from the rest of the ship. Older, more secure. Heavy blast doors lined the walls. A man waited for her at the end of the corridor. He was in his 60s, thin, with gray hair and tired eyes. He wore a white lab coat that had seen better days. When he saw Kate, he did not smile. "Dr. Cole?" Kate asked. The man nodded. Commander Bishop, I hoped I would never meet you under these circumstances. His voice carried the weight of old regrets. The Council authorized Project Prometheus, Kate said. I need to know what that means. Dr. Cole gestured for her to follow him through the blast doors. Inside was a medical facility unlike anything Kate had seen. Advanced equipment filled the room, most of it powered down and covered in dust. In the center stood a large, cylindrical chamber, frost covering its surface. A cryopod. 15 years ago we tried to create the perfect soldier, Cole began. Not just enhanced, not just stronger or faster. We wanted to build someone who could turn the tide of the war by themselves. We took volunteers, special forces operators who knew the risks. He walked to a console and brought up files. Kate saw photographs of 7 men and women in military uniforms, young, strong, determined. Cole continued talking. We enhanced them at every level. Genetic modification to increase strength and speed. Cybernetic implants for enhanced senses and reaction time. Neural interfaces to let them connect directly with technology. We pushed the boundaries of what the human body could handle. Kate looked at the photographs. 6 of them had red marks across their faces. Deceased. Only one remained unmarked. A man with dark hair and intense eyes. The file name read, Subject 0. Real name, Kyle Novak. What happened to the others? Kate asked, though she already knew the answer. The human body has limits, Cole said quietly. We thought we had accounted for everything. We were wrong. 6 subjects died during the enhancement process or shortly after. The pain was immense. Their bodies rejected the modifications. We lost good people trying to create a weapon. He turned to look at the cryopod. Kyle was different. His body accepted everything. The enhancements worked beyond our expectations. He became faster, stronger, smarter than we had designed. We ran tests. He exceeded every parameter. Then we sent him on a field test. Cole's voice grew quieter. There was a rebel base on Titan. Hostile forces had taken over a mining colony, holding workers hostage. We sent Kyle to resolve the situation. He completed the mission in 17 minutes. Every hostile eliminated. Every single one. He paused. Along with 43 civilian workers who were caught in the crossfire. Kate felt cold. He killed civilians? He eliminated all threats with maximum efficiency, Cole corrected. That was what we built him to do. We enhanced his physical capabilities, but we also conditioned his mind. We suppressed emotional responses that might interfere with combat effectiveness. Fear, hesitation, mercy. We removed anything that made him less than the perfect soldier. Dr. Cole touched the cryopod with one hand. When he came back, he reported mission success, no regret, no guilt. He did not understand why we were horrified. We had created a weapon without a conscience, something that looked human but had lost what made us human. So we shut the project down, sealed the files, and put Kyle to sleep. We told ourselves we would never wake him again. Kate stared at the frozen chamber. Inside was a man who could save humanity. A man who was also a monster. She thought about the 3 billion people on Earth, the children who would never grow up, the families that would never see tomorrow. Can he stop the Krell? She asked. Cole looked at her with those tired eyes. If anyone can, it's Kyle. But you need to understand what you are releasing. He is not a soldier. He is a weapon. And weapons do not care about collateral damage. Kate made her decision. She had run out of options and time. Wake him up. Commander, I must protest, Cole said. Kyle is unstable. The psychological conditioning may have degraded during cryosleep. We have no idea what state his mind will be in. He could be as dangerous to us as he is to the Krell. Doctor, in 3 hours the Krell will destroy Earth, Kate said firmly. I will take any chance, no matter how dangerous. Wake him up. That is an order. Cole hesitated for a long moment. Then he nodded and moved to the cryopod controls. His fingers moved across the console, entering commands. Warning lights began to flash. The chamber started to hum with power. The revival process takes approximately 10 minutes, Cole explained. His body needs time to transition from cryosleep to active status. Normally we would take hours, but we are using the emergency protocols. It will be painful for him. Kate watched the frost begin to melt from the chamber walls. Through the clearing glass, she could see a figure inside. Kyle Novak, the last hope of humanity. A weapon that looked like a man. Emergency alarms echoed through the ship. Marcus's voice came through Kate's communicator. Commander, the Krell fleet is accelerating. They will reach Earth in 2 hours and 40 minutes. We need you on the bridge. I will be there shortly, Kate responded. She looked at Cole. How long until he is ready? Cole checked his monitors. 8 minutes remaining. But Commander, you should know something else. Kyle's enhancements give him abilities beyond normal human limits. He can interface with computer systems directly through his neural implants. He will be able to access the ship's database within seconds of waking. He will know everything that has happened in the 15 years he has been asleep. Will he understand the situation? Kate asked. He will understand it better than we do, Cole said. His enhanced. Kate led Kyle through the corridors of the Valiant. Crew members stopped and stared. They had never seen him before, but something about Kyle made them step aside. Maybe it was the way he moved, fluid and precise. Maybe it was his eyes, which seemed to see everything at once. Or maybe it was simpler than that. Maybe they could sense the danger radiating from him like heat from a fire. Kyle walked behind Kate in silence. His eyes moved constantly, tracking every person, every door, every potential threat. His enhanced senses fed him information faster than a normal human could process. He could hear conversations 3 decks away. He could smell the fear and sweat of the crew. He could feel the vibrations of the ship's engines through the floor, and knew they were running at maximum capacity. As they walked, data streamed through Kyle's neural implants. He was connected to the ship's network, absorbing 15 years of history in seconds, war reports, casualty figures, strategic analyses. He saw how humanity had fought and lost again and again. He saw the colonies that had fallen, the fleets that had been destroyed, the billions of lives that had ended. None of it touched him. The information registered was analyzed and filed away. But Kyle felt nothing. Not anger at the Krell, not grief for the dead, not hope for the living. The conditioning had done its work perfectly. He was a machine wearing human skin. They reached the bridge. Marcus looked up as they entered, and his eyes widened slightly. Kyle was not particularly tall or heavily built. The enhancements were subtle on the outside. But there was something about him that made Marcus's hand drift unconsciously toward his sidearm. This is Subject 0, Kate said. He is going to help us. Kyle moved to the tactical display without waiting for an invitation. His fingers moved across the controls, pulling up data faster than any operator could manage. The holographic display shifted, showing the Krell fleet in detail. 200 warships arranged in a siege formation around Earth. Standard Krell tactics. Overwhelming force, no subtlety? How much time do we have? Kyle asked. 2 hours and 23 minutes until they reach weapons range, Marcus reported. Kyle studied the display for exactly 4 seconds. Then he spoke. I will board the Krell flagship. I will eliminate their Supreme Admiral. I will broadcast his death across all Krell communication channels. Without their Supreme Commander, the Krell military structure will collapse into chaos. Sub-commanders will fight each other for succession. The siege will break. The bridge went silent. Kate and Marcus exchanged glances. Finally, Marcus found his voice. That is suicide. The flagship is protected by shields, point defense systems, and thousands of warriors. You would never even reach the Admiral. Kyle looked at Marcus with those unsettling, calm eyes. I am aware of the obstacles. The flagship's shield frequency is 7.3 gigahertz. Their point defense systems have a tracking delay of 0.07 seconds. The Admiral's personal guard numbers 117 warriors. I have calculated the approach vectors, infiltration routes, and combat scenarios. Success probability 68.4%. 68% is not enough, Kate said. We need certainty. There is no certainty in war, Kyle replied. Only probability. 68% is acceptable. He paused. Current human survival probability is 0.03%. My plan increases that by a factor of 2,000. Do you have a better option? Kate looked at the tactical display. She thought about all the strategies she had tried, all the plans that had failed. Kyle was right. They had no better option. They had no other option at all. What do you need? She asked. A stealth shuttle, a pilot, weapons, and a distraction. Kyle's fingers moved across the display, marking positions. Your fleet will need to engage the Krell here and here, draw their attention, create an opening in their formation. I will use that opening to reach the flagship. Marcus leaned forward. Commander, if we engage them now, we lose what little time we have left. Our ships will be destroyed. Your ships will be destroyed anyway, Kyle stated flatly. This way, their destruction serves a purpose. Your crews die either way. The difference is whether their deaths mean something. The words hung in the air like a slap. Kate saw Marcus's face flush with anger. She understood. Kyle was not trying to be cruel. He was simply stating facts as he saw them. Human lives were numbers to him, variables in a tactical equation. The conditioning had stripped away his empathy along with his fear. I will need a pilot, Kyle said, ignoring the tension. Someone who can navigate through combat conditions and maintain stealth protocols. They will not need to be brave. They only need to be skilled. I will do it, a voice said from the back of the bridge. Everyone turned. Sergeant Olivia Grant stood in the doorway. She was 36 but looked older, with short dark hair and scars that told stories of too many battles. She had been one of the first Marines to fight the Krell. She had watched most of her unit die over the years, but she was still here, still fighting. You volunteering, Sergeant? Kate asked. Olivia walked into the bridge and stopped in front of Kyle. She looked him up and down, assessing. I heard the rumors about Project Prometheus. Heard they made a super soldier, and then locked him away because he was too dangerous. That you? Yes, Kyle said simply. Good, Olivia said. Dangerous is what we need right now. I can fly anything the Valiant has in its bay. Been through worse odds than 68%. When do we leave? Kyle checked the chronometer. 37 minutes. I need to prepare equipment and run final calculations. Meet me in Launch Bay 3. He turned to Kate. I will need full access to your weapons inventory and fabrication systems. I need to modify my loadout for Krell physiology and ship architecture. Kate nodded and authorized the access. Kyle left the bridge without another word. The moment he was gone, Marcus turned to Kate. Commander, we cannot trust him. You heard how he talked about our people. We are just numbers to him. What if he decides human casualties are acceptable to complete his mission? He already thinks that, Kate said quietly. But he is our only chance. Without him, everyone dies. With him, some of us might survive. I will take that chance. She looked at Olivia. You sure about this, Sergeant? You do not have to volunteer, Olivia shrugged. Been fighting this war for 8 years. Lost everyone I came up with. If I am going to die today anyway, I would rather die doing something that matters. Besides, someone needs to make sure your super soldier does not go completely off the rails. Kate appreciated the sentiment, even if she doubted Olivia could control Kyle if he decided to go rogue. But she also understood the sergeant's need for purpose. They all needed to believe their deaths would mean something. Prep the shuttle, Kate ordered. Marcus, coordinate with the other ships. We need to time this perfectly. The Krell cannot see Kyle's approach. 30 minutes later, Kate made her way to Launch Bay 3. She found Kyle checking his weapons with mechanical precision. He had equipped himself with a rifle, 2 sidearms, multiple magazines of ammunition, explosives, and various tools. His combat suit was black and covered with sensors and equipment she did not recognize. Olivia was running pre-flight checks on a sleek stealth shuttle. The craft was designed for infiltration missions with advanced shielding and minimal sensor signature. It could carry 2 people and enough firepower to level a building. Against the Krell flagship, it was a toy. Kyle, Kate called out. He looked up from his weapons. I need you to understand something. I know what you are. I know the conditioning removed your emotions. But those people on Earth, the crew on this ship, they are not just numbers. They are human beings with families, dreams, lives that matter. If you succeed today, you will be saving more than just a species. You will be saving everything that makes us human. Kyle was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke. I understand what you are trying to say, but you are wrong about one thing. The conditioning did not remove my emotions. It suppressed them. I remember what it felt like to be human. I remember fear, joy, love, grief. I just cannot access those feelings anymore. They are locked behind a wall I cannot break down. He went back to checking his weapons. Sometimes I wonder if they are still there. If somewhere inside this machine Kyle Novak still exists. But it does not matter. What matters is completing the mission. That is all I am now. That is all I can be. Kate felt a chill. For a moment she saw past the weapon to the man who had volunteered for Project Prometheus 15 years ago. A soldier who had wanted to make a difference. Who had sacrificed everything, including his humanity, to protect others. And now he was trapped inside his own enhanced body, aware of what he had lost but unable to feel it. I am sorry, Kate said. For what they did to you. For what we are asking you to do now. Kyle looked at her. Do not be. I chose this. Every volunteer for Prometheus knew the risks. 6 of us died. I survived. Whether that makes me lucky or cursed, I do not know. But I am here now, and I will complete the mission. That has to be enough. Olivia finished her pre-flight checks and walked over. Shuttle is ready. Kyle, you ever been in a stealth insertion before? I have complete recall of 17 insertion missions from my pre-Prometheus career, Kyle said. I also have tactical data from 200 The shuttle's proximity alarm started screaming. The Krell flagship loomed ahead, massive and terrifying. Its dark hull was covered in weapon ports and sensor arrays. Olivia could see the shimmer of its shields, a barely visible barrier that could vaporize anything that touched it. We are within the shield perimeter, Kyle said. Execute insertion protocol now. Olivia's hands flew across the controls. The shuttle angled toward a weak point in the shield that Kyle had identified. It was a maintenance port, too small for the Krell to consider a security risk. But Kyle had calculated they could make it through if they approached at exactly the right angle and speed. This is going to be tight, Olivia muttered. Margin of error is 0.3 meters, Kyle confirmed. I have confidence in your piloting skills. Olivia laughed despite the tension. That might be the nicest thing anyone has said to me in years. She guided the shuttle through a field of debris, using pieces of destroyed ships as cover from the Krell sensors. Behind them, the battle raged. Kate's fleet was buying them time with their lives. On Olivia's sensor display, she watched blue markers wink out one by one. Each one represented a ship full of people, friends, comrades, heroes dying so that Kyle could complete his mission. Do not think about them, Kyle said quietly. He had been monitoring her biometric readings through the shuttle's systems. Focus on the task. How can you not think about them? Olivia asked. Those are people dying out there. I am aware, Kyle said. I have calculated that approximately 437 humans have died in the last 3 minutes. In 6 more minutes, that number will exceed 2,000. Every death serves the strategic purpose of creating the distraction I need to reach the flagship. Olivia felt sick. You talk about them like they are just numbers. To me, they are, Kyle said. There was no emotion in his voice. That is what the conditioning did. It removed my ability to mourn or grieve or feel guilt. I can only see the tactical reality. Their sacrifice increases our probability of success. That must be enough. But it is not enough for you, is it? Olivia asked. I saw your face back on the Valiant. When you talked about remembering what it felt like to be human, you are not as dead inside as you pretend to be. Kyle was silent for a long moment. Then he said, I remember caring. I remember what it felt like to lose someone I cared about. The memory is there, perfect and clear, but it might as well be a video recording. I can see it, but I cannot feel it. That is worse in some ways. To know what you have lost and be unable to mourn it. The shuttle shook as a piece of debris bounced off their shields. Olivia corrected course, bringing them closer to the maintenance port. Kyle's calculations had been perfect. The opening was right where he said it would be. 30 seconds to breach, Olivia said. Once we are through that port, there is no going back. You sure about this? Certainty is irrelevant, Kyle replied. This is the optimal strategy given our resources and constraints. Proceed. Olivia took a deep breath and accelerated. The shuttle shot forward, threading through the gap in the shields with centimeters to spare. Alarms blared as they entered the flagship's defensive perimeter. Point defense weapons tracked them, but Kyle had been right about the tracking delay. The shuttle was too fast, too small, too unexpected. They slammed into the maintenance port. Kyle had attached breaching charges to the shuttle's nose. They detonated on impact, blowing a hole through the port's doors. The shuttle crashed through into a darkened corridor, scraping against the walls before Olivia brought it to a stop. "We are inside," Olivia said. Her hands were shaking slightly from the adrenaline. Kyle was already moving. He grabbed his weapons and headed for the shuttle's exit ramp. "Stay with the shuttle. Keep the engines warm. I will return in 11 minutes with the target eliminated, or I will not return at all." "Wait," Olivia said. "You are going alone. Your combat skills, while adequate, would slow my progress," Kyle stated flatly. "The optimal strategy is for me to proceed alone while you maintain our extraction vehicle." Olivia wanted to argue, but she knew he was right. She had seen combat, but Kyle was something else entirely. He was built for this in ways she could never match. 11 minutes, she said. "If you are not back by then, I am coming after you." "Do not," Kyle said. "If I have not completed the mission in 11 minutes, I am dead. Evacuate and report to Commander Bishop." He paused at the ramp. "For what it is worth, you are a skilled pilot. It was an acceptable choice to accompany me." Before Olivia could respond, Kyle was gone. He moved into the darkness of the Krell ship like a shadow, and then he was invisible. Kyle's enhanced senses activated fully as he entered the flagship, his neural implants connected to his combat suit systems, feeding him data, temperature, air composition, structural layout. His eyes adjusted to the darkness, seeing in wavelengths beyond human vision. His ears picked up sounds throughout the ship, footsteps, voices, the hum of weapons charging. He had 11 minutes. The Krell Admiral's location was 3 decks above in the command section. Between Kyle and his target were thousands of Krell warriors, but they did not know he was here yet. Surprise was his greatest advantage. Kyle moved through the corridors at inhuman speed. His enhanced muscles propelled him forward in bursts of motion, then froze him into perfect stillness when his sensors detected movement ahead. He was a predator in an enemy den, every sense focused on one goal. The first Krell patrol came around a corner. 3 warriors, 8 feet tall, armored and armed. They saw Kyle and raised their weapons. But Kyle's reaction time was measured in microseconds. He moved before they could fire. His rifle came up in a fluid motion. 3 shots, 3 targets, perfect headshots through the weak points in their armor. The Krell dropped before they could sound an alarm. Kyle stepped over their bodies and kept moving. 2 minutes elapsed. Kyle reached a vertical shaft, part of the ship's maintenance system. He could climb it faster than waiting for an elevator. His enhanced strength let him scale the walls, using handholds that would be too small for a normal human. Up 3 decks in 30 seconds, alarms started to sound. The dead patrol had been discovered. Kyle's presence was no longer secret. But he had expected this. His plan accounted for it. The Krell response was immediate and overwhelming. Warriors poured into the corridors, searching for the intruder. Kyle could hear them coordinating over their communication channels. His neural implants intercepted and translated their speech. They were converging on his position from multiple directions. Kyle accessed the ship's environmental systems through a maintenance panel. His enhanced cognition and hacking abilities allowed him to override the Krell security in seconds. He vented atmosphere from 3 adjacent sections, creating chaos. Warriors stumbled as pressure dropped. Some were pulled toward breaches. Their formation broke. Kyle used the confusion to advance. He moved through the ventilation system now, crawling through spaces too small for the massive Krell. Above him, he could hear them searching. Below him, more warriors gathered. But in the narrow spaces between, Kyle was invisible. 5 minutes elapsed. Kyle emerged from the ventilation shaft into a corridor lined with Krell honor guards. These were not regular warriors. They wore ceremonial armor that was also deeply functional. Energy shields, plasma weapons, enhanced strength augmentation. The Admiral's personal security. They saw Kyle immediately. There was no element of surprise here, but Kyle had not expected any. This was where tactics ended and raw combat began. The first guard fired. Kyle's combat suit absorbed the energy blast, its shields flaring. Kyle returned fire while moving, never staying still. His rifle sang out in controlled bursts, each shot aimed at joints and weak points. 2 guards fell. 3 more advanced. Kyle dropped his rifle, letting it hang from its strap, and drew both sidearms. At close range, his enhanced reflexes gave him an impossible advantage. He moved between the guards like water, his body flowing around their attacks while his weapons found their targets. Another guard dropped. Then another. A massive Krell crashed into Kyle from the side, having waited for him to focus on the others. They tumbled together, the guard's superior strength and mass giving it the advantage. Kyle felt his ribs crack despite his enhanced durability. The guard raised its weapon for a killing shot. Kyle's hand shot out faster than the eye could follow. He grabbed the weapon and crushed its firing mechanism with enhanced strength. Then he drove his other hand into the guard's throat, hitting the weak spot in its armor. The guard choked and fell back. Kyle was up in an instant, retrieving his weapons and moving forward. 7 minutes elapsed. Kyle stood before the bridge doors. Behind them was Supreme Admiral Vexthor, the military leader of the Krell Dominion. The doors were reinforced, designed to withstand orbital bombardment. Kyle placed shape charges at precise points using his enhanced cognition to calculate the optimal placement. The charges detonated. The doors buckled and fell inward. Kyle stepped through the smoke and wreckage onto the bridge of the Krell flagship. Admiral Vexthor stood at the center of his command deck. He was massive even for a Krell, nearly 9 feet tall, his ceremonial armor covered in battle honors. Around him, bridge crews scrambled for weapons, but Vexthor raised a hand, stopping them. Olivia found Kyle on the bridge of the Krell flagship. He was kneeling on the floor, surrounded by the evidence of his battle. The body of Admiral Vexthor lay nearby. The bridge displays showed the Krell fleet turning away from Earth, following their admiral's final command. The war was over. Humanity had won, but Olivia barely noticed. Her attention was focused on Kyle. He was shaking. His hands covered his face. She had never seen him show emotion before. Now he seemed overwhelmed by it. "Kyle," she said softly, approaching carefully. "We need to leave. The Krell fleet is retreating, but this ship is still dangerous." Kyle did not respond. His breathing was uneven. Olivia knelt beside him and gently touched his shoulder. He flinched at the contact. "What happened?" she asked. "The conditioning," Kyle managed to say. His voice was raw, nothing like the flat, emotionless tone from before. "It broke during the fight. I can feel everything now. Every person I killed getting here. Every warrior who fell. Every civilian from Titan 15 years ago. All of it, all at once." Olivia understood. The psychological conditioning that had made him an efficient weapon had also protected him from the horror of what he did. Now that protection was gone and Kyle was facing the full weight of his actions, it was crushing him. "Listen to me," Olivia said firmly. "You saved humanity today. 3 billion people are alive because of what you did. Yes, you killed, but you killed warriors who were trying to destroy us. That is not murder. That is war, is it?" Kyle asked. He finally looked at her. His eyes were wet with tears. "I killed the Admiral in honorable combat. But the others, the guards, the patrols, they were just following orders, defending their ship. What makes their lives less valuable than human lives?" Olivia did not have an easy answer. Nothing makes their lives less valuable. War is not about who deserves to die. It is about survival. The Krell chose to attack us. We chose to defend ourselves. You were the instrument of that defense. The guilt belongs to whoever started this war, not to you. I'm not sure I believe that," Kyle said. "But I want to. I need to." He stood up slowly, using the wall for support. "We should go. You are right. This ship is not safe." They made their way back to the shuttle. The Krell they encountered did not try to stop them. Word had spread about the Admiral's death and his final order. The warriors let them pass, some even inclining their heads in respect. Kyle had earned something in his duel with Vexthor. Recognition. Honor. The shuttle flight back to the Valiant was quiet. Kyle sat with his eyes closed, but Olivia could see he was not resting. He was processing, trying to make sense of emotions he had not felt in 15 years. "How do you deal with it?" Kyle asked suddenly. "You have been fighting for 8 years. You have killed. How do you live with it?" Olivia thought about her answer carefully. "I remember why I fight. I remember the people I protect, and I let myself feel it. The guilt, the grief, the anger. I do not try to suppress it. I acknowledge it and I keep going. That is all any of us can do." "I do not know if I can do that," Kyle admitted. "For 15 years I did not have to feel anything. Now I have to feel everything. I am not sure I am strong enough." "You fought your way through a Krell flagship alone," Olivia pointed out. "You beat their Supreme Admiral in single combat. You saved the entire human race. If that does not make you strong, I do not know what does. Physical strength is easy, Kyle said. The enhancements gave me that. But emotional strength? The ability to carry the weight of what I have done and not break? I do not have enhancements for that. The Valiant came into view. The ship was damaged but intact. Around it, the remnants of the human fleet regrouped. They had lost 31 ships, thousands of people dead, but they had won. Earth was safe. Kate was waiting in the landing bay when they arrived. She looked exhausted but relieved. When Kyle and Olivia emerged from the shuttle, she approached them quickly. You did it, Kate said. The Krell are retreating. Earth is safe. You saved us all. Kyle could not meet her eyes. At what cost? He asked quietly. Kate understood what he meant. The cost was high. 31 ships. Over 4,000 crew. But without your mission, we would have lost everything. Every human life on Earth. Their sacrifice meant something because of what you accomplished. Does that make it acceptable? Kyle asked. That their death served a purpose? Does that erase the fact that they are dead? No, Kate said honestly. Nothing makes their deaths acceptable, but it makes their deaths meaningful. That is the best we can hope for in war. That our sacrifices mean something. That we die protecting what matters. Kyle nodded slowly. He was trying to accept this, but Olivia could see the struggle in his eyes. The conditioning had made him an efficient weapon by removing his ability to question. Now he had to learn to live with doubt, with guilt, with the full complexity of being human. Dr. Cole arrived in the landing bay. When he saw Kyle's face, the emotion there, he stopped in shock. The conditioning, he said. It is gone. It broke during combat, Kyle explained. I can feel again everything. Cole's expression was complex. Guilt, relief, concern all mixed together. How are you managing? I am not, Kyle admitted. But I am trying. Over the next 3 days, the Krell fleet completed its withdrawal. True to Vexthor's word, they retreated beyond the Outer Rim and initiated ceasefire protocols. The war that had lasted 30 years was over. Earth celebrated. News of the mysterious soldier who had ended the war spread across every colony. Kyle Novak became a legend. But Kyle himself did not feel like a legend. He felt like a man trying to figure out how to be human again. Dr. Cole monitored his condition closely. The psychological changes were profound. Where the conditioning had suppressed emotions, now Kyle felt them intensely. Joy, grief, fear, hope, all flowing through him in waves he struggled to control. Kate visited him in medical 3 days after the battle. She found him sitting by a window, looking out at Earth. The planet looked peaceful from orbit. Blue and green and beautiful. Hard to believe it had been hours away from destruction. How are you feeling? Kate asked. Kyle considered the question. I am not sure. Some moments I feel more alive than I have in 15 years. Other moments I feel like I am drowning. The guilt is hardest. Every life I took weighs on me. I remember each face. The enhancements gave me perfect memory. That is a curse now. Dr. Cole says the emotional integration will take time. Your brain is relearning how to process feelings it was conditioned to suppress. It will get easier. Will it? Kyle asked. Or will I just get better at carrying the weight? I killed 47 Krell warriors on that flagship. I remember every single one. How they fell. What they looked like. Some of them might have had families, lives, dreams. I took all of that from them. They would have taken all of that from us. Kate said gently. I know that does not make it easy, but it is the truth. They were warriors in a war. So were you. Sometimes there are no good choices. Only necessary ones. Kyle was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, The Council wants to restart Project Prometheus. Create more super soldiers. They asked if I would help train them. Kate nodded. I know, they asked me to convince you. They saw what one enhanced soldier could do. They want an army. I told them no, Kyle said. I will not be part of creating more weapons like me. The enhancements work, but the cost is too high. To be an effective soldier, they had to remove my humanity. Now that I have it back, I understand what was lost. No one should have to pay that price. The Council will not be happy, Kate warned. I know, Kyle said. But I am done being a weapon. I need to learn how to be a person again. If that is even possible. Kate sat down beside him. It is possible. I have seen you change over these 3 days. You are not the cold machine that woke up from cryosleep. You are becoming yourself again. Kyle Novak, not Subject Zero. I am not sure who Kyle Novak is anymore, he admitted. The man who volunteered for Prometheus died 15 years ago. The weapon they created is dying now. Who is left? That is what you get to discover, Kate said. You have a chance to build a new life. Define yourself by your choices, not by what was done to you. That is more than most people get. A week after the battle, the Unified Earth Council held a ceremony honoring the fallen and celebrating the victory. Kyle was asked to attend. He did not want to go. The idea of being celebrated for killing made him sick. But Kate convinced him that the people needed to see him, to know that their sacrifice had not been in vain. The ceremony was held on Earth in the capital. Thousands of people attended. Kyle stood on a stage while politicians gave speeches about courage and sacrifice. They talked about him like he was a hero. All Kyle could think about were the faces of the Krell he had killed. When it was Kyle's turn to speak, he walked to the podium slowly. The crowd fell silent. They looked at him with hope and admiration. He was their savior, their champion. He did not feel like either. I am not a hero, Kyle said. His voice echoed across the ceremony grounds. I am a soldier who did what was necessary to protect humanity. But I want you to understand the cost. Not just the ships we lost, not just the brave crew who died buying me time, but the cost of what I became. He paused, gathering his thoughts. 15 years ago, I volunteered for Project Prometheus. I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to protect. 6 months later, Kyle stood in his apartment in Seattle and looked out at the city. It was morning. People walked to work on the streets below. Cars moved through traffic. Life continued normal and peaceful. The war felt like a distant memory to them. But for Kyle, it was always present. He had been discharged from the military 3 months ago. The ceremony had been formal and brief. He removed his uniform, accepted his medals, and walked away from 20 years of service. Some people thought he was a hero. Others thought he was a coward for refusing to help create more super soldiers. Kyle did not care what they thought. He was just trying to survive. Learning to be human again was harder than fighting the Krell. Every day brought new challenges. Simple things that normal people took for granted were difficult for him. The enhanced senses that made him an efficient warrior made civilian life overwhelming. He could hear every conversation in his building, smell every meal being cooked, feel every vibration from the street. It was constant noise that he could not turn off. Dr. Cole visited once a month to check on his progress. The conditioning breakdown had left Kyle's emotional responses unstable. Some days he felt almost normal. Other days he was overwhelmed by grief or rage or fear. Cole called it integration. Kyle called it exhausting. How are you sleeping? Cole asked during his latest visit. I am not, Kyle admitted. Every time I close my eyes, I see the Krell I killed. Their faces. How they fell. The perfect memory is a curse. I cannot forget anything. Cole made notes on his tablet. The neural modifications make your memory permanent, but we can work on processing those memories, making them less overwhelming. Have you been doing the meditation exercises I suggested? Yes, Kyle said. They help sometimes, but other times nothing helps. I just have to wait for it to pass. That is progress, Cole said.
6 months ago, you could not manage your emotions at all.
Now you have strategies. You are learning. Learning what? Kyle asked. How to live with being a monster. Cole looked at him seriously. You are not a monster, Kyle. You are a man who was put in an impossible situation and did what was necessary to survive. That does not make you evil. It makes you human. Human, Kyle repeated. The word still felt strange to him. I am not sure I know what that means anymore. After Cole left, Kyle tried to work. He had taken a job as a consultant for civilian defense systems. The work used his tactical knowledge without requiring him to fight. It paid well enough to cover his simple lifestyle. But it felt empty. He had spent 20 years as a soldier. Now he sat in an office and analyzed security protocols. It was safe, stable, boring. His phone rang. Kyle almost ignored it. He did not talk to many people. But the caller ID showed Olivia Grant. He answered. Kyle. Olivia's voice was warm. How are you doing? Surviving, Kyle said. You? Same. Listen, I'm in Seattle for a few days. Want to grab coffee? I promise not to ask how you're feeling or give you advice about processing trauma. Kyle almost smiled. Olivia had been checking on him regularly since the war ended. She was one of the few people who understood what he was going through. She had her own demons from the war. "Coffee sounds good," he said. They met at a small cafe near Kyle's apartment. Olivia looked better than she had 6 months ago. Less tired, more at peace. She had left the military too, taking a job training civilian pilots. She said it felt good to teach people who would never see combat. "You look terrible," Olivia said cheerfully as Kyle sat down. "Thank you," Kyle replied. "You look good. Civilian life agrees with you." "It does," Olivia admitted. "I actually sleep now. No nightmares about the war." "Well, fewer nightmares anyway. What about you? Making progress?" Kyle shrugged. "Dr. Cole says I am. Some days I believe him. Other days I feel like I am falling apart." "That is normal," Olivia said. "After 8 years of war, it took me almost a year to feel human again. You have to give yourself time. And be patient with yourself. You went through something that no one else has experienced. There is no manual for recovering from being a super soldier." They drank their coffee in comfortable silence. Then Olivia said, "I heard the Krell sent an ambassador. They want to establish formal relations with Earth." "I heard that too," Kyle said. He had been trying not to think about it. "They asked for you specifically," Olivia continued. "They want you to be part of the negotiation team. Not as a soldier, as a representative. Someone who understands both species." Kyle felt his chest tighten. "I cannot do that. How can I negotiate with them? I killed their admiral. I killed their warriors. They should hate me. But they do not," Olivia said gently. "That is the point. You beat Vexthor in honorable combat. You proved that humans value honor over efficiency. They respect that. They respect you. This could be a chance to build something good from all the violence." Kyle was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "I do not want to be defined by the war anymore. I do not want to be the super soldier or the hero or the weapon. I just want to be Kyle Novak, a regular person living a regular life." "Is that what you really want?" Olivia asked. "Or are you running away from who you are?" "Kyle, you have abilities that no one else has. You have experiences that no one else has survived. That does not have to define you, but it is part of you. Maybe instead of trying to forget it, you should figure out how to use it for something good." Kyle wanted to argue, but he knew Olivia was right. He had been trying to bury his past, to pretend the enhancements did not exist, but they did exist. He was enhanced whether he liked it or not. The question was what he would do with that. "I will think about it," Kyle said finally. 2 weeks later, Kyle received a formal invitation from the Unified Earth Council. The Krell ambassador would arrive in 1 month. They wanted Kyle to be part of the team that met with him. They offered him a position as a special consultant on Krell relations. The pay was good. The work was important, and it would let him use his unique perspective to maybe prevent future wars. Kyle stared at the invitation for hours. Part of him wanted to refuse, to stay in his apartment and his safe job and his simple life. But another part of him, the part that remembered being a soldier, knew that Olivia was right. He could not run from what he was. He could only choose what to do with it. He accepted the position. The Krell ambassador arrived on a cool autumn morning. His name was Korval, and he was a warrior diplomat from one of the Dominion's oldest families. He came to Earth with a small delegation, all of them unarmed as a sign of good faith. Kyle waited in the negotiation chamber with the human team. Kate Bishop was there too, representing the military. When the Krell entered, Kyle felt his enhanced senses kick into high gear, heart rate increasing, muscles tensing, combat analysis running automatically. His body remembered what the Krell were even if his mind knew they were not enemies anymore. Korval was tall even for a Krell, nearly 9 feet, with armor covered in diplomatic symbols. He looked around the room until his eyes found Kyle. Then he did something unexpected. He bowed. "Kyle Novak," Korval said in perfect English. "The warrior who defeated Supreme Admiral Vexthor in honorable combat. It is an honor to meet you." Kyle stood frozen. He had expected anger, maybe resentment, not respect. Slowly he bowed back. "Ambassador Korval, welcome to Earth." The negotiations lasted 3 days. They were tense at times. Both species had grievances. Both had lost lives. But they also had a shared understanding now. They had fought each other and learned to respect each other. That respect became the foundation for peace. On the final day, Corval asked to speak with Kyle privately. They met in a garden on the embassy grounds. The Krell ambassador looked out at the trees and sky with something like wonder. "Your world is beautiful," Corval said. "I understand now why you fought so hard to defend it." "We fought because we had no choice," Kyle replied. "Your people were destroying us." "Yes," Corval admitted. "That is our way, or it was. But Vexthor's death changed something in our culture. He was our greatest admiral, our most respected warrior, and you defeated him by choosing honor over certain victory. That taught us something about humanity, about the value of principles over pragmatism." He turned to Kyle. "The Dominion has been at war for centuries. It is what we know, how we define ourselves, but your duel with Vexthor showed us another path, a way to be strong without being cruel, to have honor without needing conquest. We are trying to learn that path now. It is difficult. Change always is. But we are trying." Kyle felt something in his chest loosen. For 6 months he had carried the guilt of the Krell he killed. But hearing Corval speak, seeing the change in their culture, he understood that his actions had meant something beyond just ending the war. He had shown them another way to be. That was worth something. "I am glad," Kyle said simply. Corval nodded. "Will you continue this work? Building bridges between our species?" Kyle thought about his apartment, his quiet life, the safety he had tried to build. Then he thought about the thousands of humans and Krell who had died in the war, about the future that could be built if both species learned to work together. "Yes," Kyle said. "I will." 1 year after the war ended, Kyle stood in the memorial garden on Earth. The garden honored all the soldiers who had died in the 30-year conflict. Thousands of names carved into stone, thousands of lives given for humanity's survival.